I just don't give a fuck about what other people think anymore because I'm so committed to what I want. I saw what happens when two individuals, you and me, are in integrity with ourselves and how that impacts the relationship.
Yeah.
I think that's where most relationships fall off, is they live in stories and fantasy and not truth.
And I think for myself too, I was just living for everyone else instead of realizing that I really just need to live for myself. Welcome back to the Late Night Date Night podcast. On this episode, we talked about our latest trip to Grand Lake and how we made decisions that still stayed within integrity in ourselves, and how that impacted our experience up there with our family, and how it also impacted our relationship, and just reminded us and showed us of how much we've actually grown.
Hope you guys enjoy the episode.
It's hard to measure exactly like our spiritual and mental growth individually and as a couple. And I feel like it's not until I personally slow down and actually reflect on life and where we're at, when I truly realize how far we've come. We just spent a week up in Grand Lake with your family celebrating your mom's birthday, and it was so much fun. And I didn't realize in the past how much underlying resentment and anger and frustration and stress that I was carrying in my life, where we would still go up there and I would have a great time, but I would be so stressed and anxious to get home on Sunday, knowing just how much I had to do before I would jump into a week of being on all the time with the boys. And so this past week I feel was a lot different because I actually got to enjoy every single moment with you and with the family and with the boys. And I came home feeling this sense of calmness and peace, and I didn't have that anxiousness to get home, where it just made it so much more enjoyable this time around, instead of feeling I had to rush home and get right back to work and get right back in routine to just stay afloat. And I just didn't feel that this time.
Yeah, I mean, but we still did all those things. We came back, had to grocery shop, get ready for the week, prep for everything, unpack the laundry, have Daniel the tiger babysit Luca while you and I reconnected. And we did all of these things to get ready for the week. So what do you feel was different about this time?
I think we've just done so much work and had those conversations for I don't know, starting after Luca was born, to actually have you share in the work at home, where now we just kind of it's just part of our way of operating, where we have this space where you take ownership and you take lead of going to the grocery store, and then taking Luca instead of leaving Luca here. So I don't know if you do this intentionally or unintentionally, but I thought it was very nice when you were hey Luca, do you want to go to the grocery store with me? Because
I wanted to hang out with them.
Well, I know, but before I guess I just felt it would always just be back on me to always entertain him, and that way you could just go to the grocery store by yourself. But I don't know, I felt you did that so that I could have some time just by myself. And it's those little things that may be unintentional that I just appreciate, because I don't feel it was always that way.
No, it wasn't always that way. And I think a lot of times we would come back from Grand Lake and I would always find myself in a place of guilt and sadness and frustration and anxious as well. But it had nothing to do with you. It was the way that I showed up when I was up there. My habit when I'm up there is to fall out of my own routine, my own alignment with myself. What do I mean by that? There have been commitments that I've made to myself around what I want my business and what I want physically for myself and what I want to do spiritually. And it seems like every time I would leave and go somewhere outside of the confines of this home, those things would start to go by the wayside. And one of the commitments recently that I made to myself is that like I'm just not going to be drinking. And so heading up to Grand Lake, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to stay in integrity. That is so hard for me to say. I've been struggling all week in coaching calls. Stay in integrity with myself and my commitments. And so what were those commitments to me? Well, one, it was I wasn't going to drink. Number two, it was going to be I was going to wake up and I was going to spend time in the Bible and I was going to meditate. And then number three, it was going to be I was going to work on Thursday and half a day Friday. And before, I would just like make excuses for myself. Oh, we're up here, we're celebrating my mom's 76th birthday, I can have a couple drinks. Or, family time, these memories only happen once, you got to be fully present. So I would just throw off work. But inevitably, that would put me so far out of alignment with myself that I would show up resentful, I would show up irritable, I would show up angry, and inevitably that would be projected onto everybody else, onto you, onto the boys, onto my parents, onto my sister. My sister's, my brother-in-law, he would never get it because he's fucking awesome, right? He doesn't care. But it would be all of this, and then I'd be driving back home, and I'd just be riddled with like, why didn't I show up as a better husband, as a better dad, as a better son, a better father? And what I found is like the fact that I was in integrity with myself and I didn't allow that to slip, it allowed me to have a presence in that home that I've recognized impacted everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's funny, like when you stay committed or in alignment to what you want, like eventually people just adjust, and it also just feels better within yourself. Like my decision too of like the last couple trips or whenever it was, like my decision too to stay on my nutrition plan and somewhat track up there. And then make conscious decisions to like prioritize protein and not like grab the latest bag of chips that's like laying.
The latest bag of chips, like it was some album drop.
Okay, well, whatever.
But I know what you're talking about, right? It's all of these small decisions that seem so like
they don't matter.
Like they don't matter, but they do. And a lot of the work that I've been doing recently, and I've seen it as a reflection in me that is being projected out, is just being in alignment and not betraying myself. And so not doing things, I don't like stop. I just don't give a fuck about what other people think anymore because I'm so committed to what I want.
Right.
And so if I'm not drinking and somebody else wants to drink, I don't care. Like go do your thing. If I want to not eat ice cream and you want to eat it, go eat it. But I think the fact that these little things have allowed us to be back in integrity with ourselves. And so when you bring up this conversation about like, oh, there wasn't this anxiousness and there wasn't this, disconnection. It's not because I took Luca to the grocery store.
What is it then?
That is an action from me being in integrity with myself and me wanting to be a good dad and slow down and spend time with him. But it's not the action that created this. It's the fact that when I was up there, right, I was in integrity with myself, which means I wasn't irritable. There was nothing to blame, nothing to do. I was doing what was right for me, allowing everybody else to do what was right for them.
Right.
And then I watched you do the same, right? You had made a commitment to yourself to have no more than 2 drinks per week. And I watched you do that.
Yeah.
And you stayed in alignment with yourself. You tracked your food at the table, right? You're sitting there, you put the scale on the table, you're measuring your rice, you're measuring your chicken, while everybody else is just eating. Nobody's judging, everybody's just doing their own thing. But that was a big thing for you to do. And we've talked about this on a previous podcast where like, at first that's like, I don't know, like how are they gonna react? And nobody gives a shit. And so the reason I believe that this was a moment for us where we like jumped this gap was I saw what happens when 2 individuals, you and me, are in integrity with ourselves and how that impacts the relationship.
Yeah.
So if we were to rewind the tape to the back of the beginning of this podcast and how you felt like you were supported and like the loads were, everything was kind of like divvied up and you didn't feel all the stress to jumping back in the week. Now based off this new perspective, what do you feel like you're seeing?
Yeah, I guess it's just staying like in alignment with what I said I want. Even like making a small decision before we even went up there that I wanted to do a picnic by the lake on the beach, and making that decision that like everyone was going to do their own thing in the morning and we were going to go anyways. And so I took the boys down there. We got coffee and then we walked down to the beach, and then everyone ended up meeting us anyways. And it was a lovely morning.
Everybody was saying that was one of the best trips to Grand Lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was so fun.
And I'm sitting here being like, hey, it's not like you and I created this magical thing up there. But what I will say is that people's presence and people who are operating in their truest self are magnetic. Because I watched my sister, like she was having so much fun and she was super friendly. Like she always is friendly, but she was like even more like connected. Like I felt like I finally had my sister again. Like there's this connection. I got to spend time with my mom. Just one of the commitments I made that I was going to have deeper conversations with her. So while you guys were eating ice cream at the table, I went and sat with her and was talking to her.
Yeah.
Right? And being able to go for a walk with my dad. These are all things that I had committed to myself that I wanted to do, and I did. And I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit of when we make a commitment and honor it.
Yeah.
Because every day that I woke up and I hadn't had a drink, I sound like I'm an alcoholic, but every day I woke up and I hadn't had a drink, it was just a reminder to myself that I honored my word and I honored my commitment. And here's what happens. Here's what I've noticed. Every time you make a decision, like you make a choice, okay, I'm going to do this. You're then left with two options. You're either going to honor your word and you're going to keep it, or you're going to dishonor your word and you're not going to keep it.
Right.
And anytime we do that, right, and this is something that was shown to me, anytime we honor our word, our trust for ourselves and our love for ourselves goes up, which means our self-belief, our confidence, our certainty, our results, our performance, everything goes up.
Right.
But every time we say we're going to do something and then we don't do it, right, it goes away. And so I had found just myself like making these commitments that I was like, okay, I'm going to do all of this when I get to Grand Lake, and then I wouldn't do it. And then I would just see myself as like less than because I couldn't honor my own commitments.
Yeah, that's true. And I think for me, sometimes I get really hard on myself that it doesn't look exactly the way it does when we're at home. For example, my morning time where I read my daily devotional and do all that, get my quiet time and my journaling and stuff, it can be hard, I think, as a mom to travel and be in different sleeping arrangements, be away from home, be away from routine and all that, where things don't always go exactly as they do back at home. And so for me, I had to learn to be like a little bit more flexible and fluid with how things were coming together. And so me and Enzo got to sleep together in the same bed, which I love because they're just growing so fast. But that meant that anytime I moved to try and get like out of bed a little bit earlier, that meant he was going to wake up. And so I made a commitment that I was still going to read my daily devotional when we got upstairs, even though he was with me, and then take my morning shower like I normally do, but then make that kind of like my quiet time, or listen to a sermon to still like get that peace and like ground myself before like the day of chaos started. And I felt like even though those are simple things, I feel like it just helped me have this peace and calmness and like presence that I still honored my commitments and everything that I do here. It just came together a little bit differently because I had to be a little bit more flexible.
Yeah. Something I've noticed too is just like this ability for us to move past this old cycle. And every relationship, every person gets stuck in a pattern.
Yes.
And if you're not aware of the pattern, you'll just continue to repeat it. One of my patterns in business is, hey, if I work harder and do more, I'll get the result that I want. Yet I know that that's not true. I don't have to work harder. I fucking work really hard. And it's not about what I'm doing, it's about how I'm doing it. And so as I'm hearing you talk about these things that you're doing, it's not what you're doing, it's how you're doing it. It's like you're making the time to be present, which allows you to show up differently as a mom and as a wife and as a daughter-in-law and all of these different things. I remember being up in Grand Lake and where sitting outside and we're having s'mores with Luca and we're cooking the s'mores, and he doesn't really know how to cook s'mores, so he's just burning marshmallows and then he's whipping it around trying to like hit people, and I got like marshmallow on my sweater and marshmallow on my face. And I remember just sitting in that place watching him do this, realizing that like if I wasn't present in that moment, I wouldn't have got the chance to experience it. And I think a lot of parents that I've talked to and what I've just seen is they are so reactive to their kids because they're not present with themselves. And because they're not present with themselves, they have no clue what's going on inside of them. And their kids create the reaction, and then they have this reaction towards their kids, and they get the brunt of it. And now you're riddled with dad shame or mom guilt and shame or whatever the cool phrase is. Yeah. And then you have to heal that.
Yeah. I've noticed that for myself too. It's like when I personally don't get that like quiet time or just time to myself, or be able to connect with myself and know exactly what I need, whether that be like movement or quiet time or time alone or time with you or one-on-one time with one of the boys, like I notice in myself that I just feel way more angry, frustrated, and like irritable. And then that causes me to get very upset about little things, about like the spilt Cheerios, when it's really not that big of a deal.
And I think there's this point where when you start to operate in this place, what I've noticed is you and I will always hit this threshold and then we'll just repeat the pattern. And so there's this moment of connection where, we're on date nights, we're connected emotionally, sex life is great, and then all of a sudden there's this lack of awareness by both of us, and then we just repeat the cycle. We get into this fight, we come back, and we have to start over.
Right.
This is the same thing that I've noticed in myself when it comes to drinking. Every time I don't drink, I make more money than I've ever made in my entire life. Yet I get to this spot where it's good enough, and I'm like, let's celebrate, and then boom, we start over.
Yeah.
And so it's not about the drinking, and it's not about the date nights, and it's not about the quality time. It's about being in integrity with what you say you're going to do. And so what I've noticed is that as we've made this jump, right, and it seems small, but it's monumental in what we've done.
Yeah.
It's now about how do we stay in this place of presence and not allow old patterns to resurface.
Yes.
Do you know we have a pattern?
Yeah.
What do you think that pattern is?
Well, all the negative feelings, and then all of a sudden we like blow up at each other for no reason.
Yeah.
But I was really proud of us though too, because even last night I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed by like the 4 loads of laundry that are just like sitting in the basket after Grand Lake and all that. And I'm like, well, when am I going to be able to do this? Because we have a busy week. We've got some parties, friends leaving out of town, and then our niece's first birthday, and I'm making cupcakes and like a cake for that and stuff. And so it's just a busy week, and I know that I can't get to the laundry until Saturday. And I know like deep down inside of me, it's going to create this like anxiousness that like it's just sitting there and like I can't take care of it. And it's so much more than just like folding the laundry. It's this sense of like, I know I need to do it. I can't do it. It's making the house feel a little bit more like chaotic than it needs to be. And I just came up to you last night and I was like, hey, do you think you could take lead on bedtime tonight so that I can spend like 30 minutes to an hour just folding laundry and getting the house organized? And I don't know, it's so small, but I would never be able to ask you for that and like actually have it be heard and received, and you'd be like, yeah, like no problem, I'll take it. And then I was like, yeah, then you can take the next day. And I feel like before we would have those conversations and I would ask for what I needed and you would be like, well, you're a stay-at-home mom, figure it out. But like,
oh, hey, there's that bus. Boom! All right, thanks. Just run me right over on the internet. I'm already getting called a misogynist on the internet from one clip, so let's just keep on rolling them.
I'm sorry.
You don't need to apologize because that's the way it was. And here's the thing, like you would ask those things and I would get reactive because I was like, do you have any idea what the fuck I'm doing?
Yeah.
I'm running this business. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying to provide. I'm trying to show up as a dad and doing all of these things. And while all of those things are true, here's what I'll say. The moment that you operate from a place of truth and integrity and you stop betraying yourself and you just do the things that you want to do and the things that you say you're going to do, you have more energy, you have more certainty, you have more conviction, you have more composure, and then conversations like this can happen. Because you're in integrity and I'm in integrity and the relationship is in full fucking alignment, that we can have these conversations and they're not reactive, they're led by a place of curiosity and love. And I'm like, yeah. And here's the thing. When you're like, you can have tomorrow off, I wasn't even, in my mind, it wasn't even a trade. I was just going to do it, right? I was just like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And so I think what the beautiful piece about this is that the individual, the wife and the husband's responsibility is to operate from a place of their own truth. And if we can do that, it opens up this place for deeper conversations. Because if you're not in that place, here's what happens. When I'm not in integrity and you say some shit to me, it fucking says, like, lights a bomb inside of me. Because why? Because I know everything that you're saying is true. And so what happens? A man becomes defensive the moment that his wife says some shit that he knows is true, but he can't hold himself accountable. So then he's like, you're a bitch. I can't believe you'd say that. And then he becomes defensive and reactive. Conversely, a man says something to a woman and she feels attacked, like, I'm not good enough, I'm not seen, yada, yada, yada. The reality is she knows that what he's saying is true and she doesn't want to deal with it, and she's afraid because of what he's saying. She now has to deal with it because now she finally sees in herself what he just called out. And that's a terrifying place to be. But the moment you're in integrity and somebody says something, well, you're not defensive because you know that what they're saying is not true. Or what they're saying is true and you agree with them.
Yeah. I think it's just, in the past, I think it's just exposed things inside me and like these beliefs, these self-limiting beliefs that I was hanging on to that I didn't even realize were there.
And that, I mean, if you look across all the domains of your life, right? So we play in 4 domains. We play in our body domain. We play in our being domain, which is our spirituality and our connection to ourself. We play in our balance domain, which is relationships. And we play in our business domain. If you seriously go in and do an audit of where am I in integrity and where am I out of integrity, and then you start to make the adjustments to keep the things in integrity and move the things out of integrity into integrity, you become the most confident version of yourself. And that's how it's not about working harder. It's about you doing the work from that place that creates bigger results.
Yeah. It's the energy that we've been talking about.
Yeah, dude, I sound like a white girl selling doTERRA oil or bringing crystals inside a home.
Yeah.
But here's the reality of it. Your energy, you are the source. You are the creator.
Right.
And if you're all fucked up, anything you create's going to be fucked up.
What's that song? Energy flows where, it's like an EDM song.
No, well, I'm sure they'll guess what that is. I mean, I have no clue what.
Energy goes where energy flows or something.
Oh, I think they're ripping off Eric Thomas or somebody else who was saying that. And they just is putting myself in a place of letting go of things out of obligation, no longer making decisions based off obligation, doing what I want. Does that mean I'm being selfish? In some ways, yeah, 100%. There's some things that I've communicated to you that I will no longer do. And I'm sure that was hard. And there's things that you have communicated to me that I was like, okay, I can get on board with that. And that's the real game, is like, can we stay in this place of just honoring who we are, where we're at, and living in a place of truth? I think that's where most relationships fall off, is they live in stories and fantasy and not truth.
Yeah, and I think for myself too, I was just living for everyone else instead of realizing that I really just need to live for myself. Like, I need to honor what I say I want to do, like going down to the beach and having a picnic, no matter what everyone else was doing at the time, and honor that, like, I'm still going to track.
But look what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
Look what happens when you do what you say you're going to do. You create an experience for the boys that is very different than if you were operating from a resentment and guilt. And you become a light in other people's life. You show them what is possible.
Yeah.
By simply just you living your life to the standard that you want to live it. And it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it created a very different experience for me this time up in Grand Lake, and just like a different level of joy, which may sound like weird or hard to comprehend, but it truly was just like such an amazing trip. And to be able to come home without like that resentment or anger or frustration or anything like that. But then also be able to maintain it up there too. It just created such a different experience for me, and I just really enjoyed it.
And that's what I tell people. Like, you have to figure out what you want, and you have to start asking yourself, where am I self-betraying myself? Where am I doing things that I don't want to do? Where am I doing things out of obligation? And then stop. Well, what if my partner gets upset? Well, then let them get upset. Their feelings are not your responsibility at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. That was a great trip. Still, listen, y'all. Here's what we're going to leave you with. If you are constantly just fighting with your significant other, right, and you guys can't seem to get out of this pattern, I want you to get to one simple conversation. Where are you guys out of integrity in the relationship? Where are you not being honest with one another? You trying to keep the peace is actually just creating an internal war that eventually is going to blow the fuck up. We appreciate you guys joining this, right? If you liked it, leave us a 5-star. If you hate it, leave a 1-star. Either way, just tell the truth, right? Come follow my beautiful wife at Lizzie Ray on Instagram. I'm Sergio Nazaro. Until next time, take care. Peace.
Peace.